And welcome back. Today, we're tackling a big question you might have if you're not contacting someone. Is it really doing anything? I understand this is difficult. You've probably wanted to get in touch, wondering if they notice you're gone, if they think of you, or if they miss you. But staying away was a brave decision, a strong step to take back control and focus on yourself. It takes strength, patience, and faith. You're searching for proof that your efforts aren't wasted, that they're making a real difference. Today, we'll look at the small but important clues that your no-contact plan is working, using ancient wisdom as our guide. Instead of overthinking every little thing or guessing what they're doing, we'll concentrate on solid, dependable signs that your silence is having an effect. And this isn't just guesswork. These signs come from studying many situations where no contact not only helped someone recover, but also completely changed their relationship with the person they cared about. You might feel like nothing's changing, like your silence isn't doing anything. You might even be wondering if they even realize you're gone. This doubt is normal. When we step back and disconnect, it often leaves a painful emptiness. But here's something most people don't get about how we think. The second you stop giving your attention, you create a noticeable absence that can't be missed. Think of a candle in a dark room. When you're near, its heat and light are comforting, but it's easy to forget how much it brightens the space. Now, imagine removing the candle. The room isn't just darker, it feels colder and emptier. The heat and light that seemed small before are now noticeably absent. That's what's happening now. By stepping away, you're creating a space where your absence is felt. When one's consistent presence is removed, its significance becomes clear. Only then do others recognize the value of that presence, even if the connection was nascent. The warmth, attention, and consistent support, whether fully appreciated or not, are now absent. This steady support has ceased, and its absence creates a noticeable difference, a shift that demands attention. If this resonates, and you are ready to embrace your strength, acknowledge this message. Liking this video supports this platform and symbolizes your dedication to personal empowerment. This small act reinforces your commitment to self-worth. Let us continue this journey together. Let me share a compelling story from our community. Sarah maintained no contact with her former partner for 45 days. She believed he had moved on and was indifferent to her silence. Gradually, subtle indicators emerged. Her friends reported her former partner inquiring about her indirectly, mentioning her name and interests, attempting to understand her life without overt curiosity. This is not happenstance, but psychology. When accustomed to someone's presence, attention, and energy, the disappearance creates a void, often more impactful than anticipated. Consider the analogy of coffee. If a daily habit ceases abruptly, the body reacts. It notices, desires, and deeply feels the absence. This is precisely the current situation. Whether acknowledged or not, your absence is being felt. Today, we will explore the most revealing signs of this. If you're using the no-contact method after a breakup, here are some hints. It's working, even if your ex doesn't show it. These clues are small but clear, proving your silence is having the effect you wanted. This process isn't just about them. It's about you. Even if you don't see these signs right away, staying strong is key. We can only control our own actions, not others. Focus on self, respect, and bouncing back. Let's say together, I stand strong, Write it below 2. Writing it down makes it more real. By doing this, your silence becomes powerful. The biggest sign it's working. You're building a better life. If you're still waiting for them to notice, you're gone. You're not truly disconnected. You might be physically apart, but you're still mentally and emotionally tied to them. Checking their social media and wondering if they miss you keeps you stuck. Remember why you started no contact. They likely rejected you, became distant, or stopped talking. While there might be many reasons for their actions, the real reason, they got used to you always being there for them, ready to help with anything. So, if you're still checking on them, hoping they'll notice and respond, ask yourself, why would they return? Why would they come back to the same you they left? The you they felt okay leaving. I'm not saying it's all your fault. Relationships are complicated, and no one is ever completely to blame. But there's a reason why, even when you're not talking to someone, it's hard to let go. It's because you're attached to the hope that they'll change and see how great you are. But if you're just waiting, you're stuck in the same situation that caused the problem to begin with. They left because they didn't value you. And if you're still waiting, nothing has changed. You might think that not talking to them will make them miss you. It can, by giving them space to feel your absence, but only if you truly move on. If you're still checking on them and waiting for them to come back, they'll sense it. They'll know you're not over them. People can feel when they're on your mind. They know you're still interested and hoping, even if you don't talk to them. It's like they know they still have some control over you. This means ignoring them isn't really working because deep down, you're still attached. You might tell yourself looking at their social media is just being curious. But really, it's probably hope. This hope keeps you stuck. What if they never contact you? What if they've moved on while you're stuck in the past? Ask yourself, if they came back now, would you be different? Would they see a stronger, more independent you, or the same person who's been waiting? If you haven't changed, they'll see the same old patterns. They'll see you're still available. And if they come back just because they're lonely, not because they've changed, things will just go back to how they were. Nothing changes if you haven't changed emotionally. So, why are you still waiting? What do you think will happen if they notice you? Will it make you feel better? Will it take away the pain? Feeling good because they finally notice you won't last if you don't feel good about yourself already. You might feel happy for a bit, but you'll just end up wanting their attention again. Ignoring them isn't just about making them miss you. It's about giving yourself time to grow. It's about taking a step back so you can see yourself differently, as someone valuable, without needing someone else to tell you that. Are you really using this time to work on yourself and become a better person? You don't need others to feel complete. If you're stuck in the same emotional spot, still wishing and holding on, you're not progressing. So, instead of waiting for them to see you, focus on yourself. Figure out what you need to mend and to feel complete without needing their approval. Use this time for your own growth, not for them. Just waiting prevents the true benefit of no contact. No contact isn't about waiting. It's about self-improvement. Only when you grow will you realize that you are strong and complete on your own, regardless of their return. Second sign. They behave strangely or seek attention. When someone feels your absence, they may act differently. They might be overly active online, bragging about their great life. Perhaps they suddenly focus on fitness or new hobbies, trying to appear adventurous and happy. This is often a facade. They're trying to show you, look, I'm fine without you. They're filling the silence, trying to appear unbothered, like they're moving on or even thriving. But it's often just a show. Deep down, your absence might be bothering them, and instead of facing it, they distract themselves and seek attention. When people go quiet in a relationship, others often try to get their attention. They want to look good, especially to the person who stopped talking to them. The silence makes them wonder what the other person is thinking, and if they're moving on. This mix of curiosity and worry can make them act strangely. A shy person might suddenly share everything about their life online, or a quiet person might become loud and go to lots of parties. It's like they're putting on an act to get noticed. Think of it like a kid who lost a favorite toy. They might act like they don't care and play roughly with other toys, but inside, they're sad. Your absence creates a similar feeling, even if they don't admit it. They pretend to be happy, hoping you'll notice and contact them. Actions are more telling than words. When someone acts differently, it means something they won't say. They're putting on a show to make you curious enough to break the silence, but you don't have to play along. It's like watching a play. The actor tries hard to get your attention, but you can choose whether to react. Trick. They know, but as a true audience member, you're not meant to join them on stage. You're meant to sit back, watch, and decide how much of the show you want to invest in emotionally. By staying silent, by not reacting to their performance, you're telling them that their act isn't enough to pull you. Back your silence speaks volumes. By not reacting, you're showing them that you're not here to chase them, that their approval or validation is no longer your focus. And this can be frustrating for them, because in their mind, the show was supposed to draw you in. They expected you to take notice, maybe even feel a twinge of jealousy or curiosity. But instead, you're choosing to remain grounded, centered in your own strength, and not letting their behavior pull you back. And remember, people are often drawn to those who have the confidence to walk away without needing to look back. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in, as Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control how they act, how they react, or how they try to capture your attention. But you can control how much energy you give to their behavior. If you're not seeing this sign yet, don't worry. It doesn't mean you failed, or that no contact isn't working sometimes. These shifts take time, and sometimes they're subtle. The most important thing is that you stay steady and focused on your own journey. You don't need to look for confirmation from their behavior. Instead, remind yourself of your commitment to stay strong, to focus on your own growth and self-worth, even if you don't see these signs right away. That's okay. They may or may not happen. And either way, it doesn't change your path forward. Your goal isn't to wait for them to notice you. Your goal is to become someone so centered and secure in themselves that others feel drawn to you naturally. So hold firm and stay true to your decision. If you're not seeing any signs, don't be discouraged. Stand strong, because this journey is about you reclaiming your power. And when doubt starts to creep in, let your affirmation be a source of strength. I stand strong. And if you haven't already, write it in the comments below. Write it as a declaration, a commitment to yourself. I stand strong. By putting it into words, you're affirming that no matter what happens, you're choosing resilience, self-worth, and inner peace above all else. And folks, we're at the midpoint of the video. If you have any questions, maybe a different perspective, or a confusing thought lingering in your mind, let's discuss it in the comments. I'm here to help you anytime. And if everything's clear and you're finding value in this, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, let's keep going strong together. Sign 3, they seem to be everywhere you are. One of the most telling signs that the no contact rule is working is when you start noticing that they seem to pop up wherever you go. You may not have seen them for a while, and suddenly, they're showing up at places you frequent, attending events they normally wouldn't, or liking and commenting on posts in mutual circles where you're active. It may feel like a coincidence at first, but when this coincidence keeps happening, it's often a sign that your absence is starting to get to them. Imagine that you've created an invisible line between the two of you. By choosing no contact, you've drawn that line and stayed on your side, giving them the space they seem to want. But sometimes, when people realize that you're no longer chasing or seeking them out, curiosity and even a bit of anxiety can kick in. They start crossing that line in subtle ways, hoping to remind you that they're still around, or even better, to see how you'll react if they appear in your space. Think about it like a game of tag. When you're constantly pursuing someone, they keep running. But when you stop chasing and stand still, they often turn around, wondering why you stopped your no contact. Silence can have a similar effect when they see that you're no longer investing your time, energy, or attention into them. They're left with unanswered questions. Why aren't they looking for me? Why aren't they reaching out? This can be unsettling, leading them to seek you out in hopes of regaining the control they once felt. Let's break down some examples of this behavior. Say you usually attend a certain yoga class every Wednesday, and they never cared about yoga before, but now suddenly you start seeing them there. Or maybe there's a local coffee shop where you like to spend time, and out of yeah, they start frequenting it too. These appearances aren't always random. Sometimes they're seeking out familiar spaces you share, hoping to run into you without it seeming too obvious. If it's a subtle way of keeping a connection alive without actually reaching out, another form of this behavior is when they become more active in your online spaces. Perhaps they start liking posts from your mutual friends, commenting on things that you're tagged in, or watching your stories and posts more frequently. It's as though they're trying to make their presence felt without breaking the no contact rule themselves. This subtle interaction, showing up where they know you'll see them, can be a way of saying, I'm still here watching. But why do they do this when people lose a steady presence in their life? They feel a gap, even if they don't want to admit it by appearing where you are. They're trying to fill that gap to insert themselves back into your world. In some way, it's a bit like trying to hear a favorite song you haven't listened to in a while. It's comforting, familiar, and brings a sense of connection to something that once felt close. They're hoping that by placing themselves in your environment, they can reestablish some of that closeness they once felt. There's also a psychological factor here, FMO, or the fear of missing out when someone feels your absence, but isn't sure what's happening in your life. Curiosity starts to build. Are they moving on? Are they meeting new people? This fear can become overwhelming, leading them to seek out places where they know they might get a glimpse into your world when they show up in your spaces. It's often an attempt to reconnect, to gather information, and to reassure themselves that they haven't completely lost touch with you. Of course, seeing them everywhere can be confusing. You might wonder if they're trying to get back together, or maybe if they're trying to get back together, or maybe if they're just being nosy. It's essential to recognize that while this behavior does show they're affected by your absence, it doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to make amends or rekindle the relationship. Sometimes it's just a reflection of their curiosity or discomfort with losing the control they once felt. So, what should you do if you notice this sign? First, recognize it for what it is. A sign that your no-contact approach is having an effect. They're feeling the void you left, and they're responding by seeking out ways to feel close to you again, even if it's only from a distance. But resist the temptation to break your silence in response to their behavior. Remember, they're not reaching out directly. They're testing the waters, perhaps even hoping that you'll be the one to break the silence first. Instead, Let this be a B. Reminder of your own strength. You've created a space for yourself, and they're feeling that shift. But don't lose focus. No contact is about you, your growth, your healing, your growth. You're healing your journey to self. Respect, let their behavior serve as confirmation that your silence speaks louder than words. You don't need to engage, react, or change your approach by standing firm. You continue to show them that your life doesn't revolve around their attention. If you're not seeing this sign yet, don't worry, the timing of these things varies, and some people take longer to feel the impact of absence. Your goal isn't to get them to appear where you are. It's to find your own stability and confidence without needing their presence. Stand strong in your choice to go no contact. Trust that the boundaries you're setting are guiding you toward a healthier future, with or without their involvement. And as a final reminder, if you feel tempted to break your silence, hold on to this affirmation. I stand strong when you find yourself wavering. Remember why you started no contact in the first place: to reclaim your power to heal and to grow. And if you haven't done so already, write it in the comments below. I stand strong. This affirmation is your anchor, a commitment to yourself that no matter where they are, you are grounded, centered, and in control. Sign 4. They begin to mirror your actions. One subtle yet powerful sign that no contact is working is when they start mirroring your actions. This mirroring isn't necessarily a conscious choice on their part. It's often a subconscious response to your changes. When someone sees you growing, exploring new interests, or embracing a positive lifestyle, they may feel an urge to do the same, almost as if they're trying to keep up with you. This mirroring effect can show up in several ways, from adopting similar hobbies to making lifestyle changes they know align with your values. Imagine your life as a ripple in a pond. When you make a change, even something small, it sends ripples outward in a relationship, or even after a breakup. These ripples can impact the other person too, especially if they're still attuned to your life. By staying silent, focusing on your own journey, and embracing self-improvement, you might notice that they're starting to copy some of these changes consciously or not. For instance, maybe you've started hitting the gym regularly, focusing on your fitness, and taking care of your health. Suddenly they're sharing workout updates, posting about health goals, or joining fitness classes. Or perhaps you've taken up a new hobby, something that brings you joy and fulfillment, like painting or learning a new language, and then out of the blue, you see them dabbling in a similar activity. It's as though they're following your lead, even though there's no communication between you. Why does this happen? Relationships, even after they end, have a lasting impact on both people involved. When you were together, you likely influenced each other's habits and routines. So when you start making changes that signal growth and independence, they may feel inspired or even challenged to keep up. They're used to seeing you in a particular way, and now that you're stepping into a new version of yourself, they may feel a need to match that energy. Psychologically, this mirroring often comes from a place of insecurity or self-reflection. When they see you moving forward, it highlights the fact that they're standing still or not progressing. In the same way, your actions may spark questions within them. If they're growing and improving, what am I doing with my time? Should I be making changes too? Rather than accepting that they may have fallen behind, they start imitating your actions to feel like they're on the same level. Mirroring can also stem from a fear of being left behind or becoming irrelevant in your life. When someone sees you evolving and improving, it can create a sense of distance, a reminder that you're no longer the same person they once knew. By mimicking your changes, they're trying to close that gap to keep up with you in a way that makes them feel more connected to your current self. Another reason people mirror actions is to rekindle a sense of connection. Think of it like trying to speak of the same language. If they trying to speak of the same language. Know you're invested in personal growth. They may hope that by pursuing similar activities, they'll spark some common ground, even if it's subtle. This can be especially true if they're feeling the absence of communication or a closeness. By mirroring your actions, they're creating a bridge to feel like they're still part of your life, even if you're not directly interacting. But it's important to keep perspective. While this behavior can be a sign that they're still affected by your presence, it doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to change or reconnect. Sometimes mirroring is simply a reaction to their own insecurities, rather than a genuine interest in self-growth or rekindling the relationship. They may be making surface-level changes without the true introspection or commitment that lasting growth requires. So what should you do? If you notice this mirroring behavior, first recognize it as confirmation that your focus on yourself is having an effect. They're watching, they're noticing, and they're impacted by the strength and independence you're cultivating. However, don't let this lure you back into old patterns. Remember, their growth journey is theirs to figure out your progress, and goals aren't about competing or winning against them. They're about becoming the best version of you. If they're truly inspired by your changes, that's a reflection of the positive influence you've had. But whether they choose to genuinely invest in their own growth, or are you just mirroring you temporarily, is out of your control. What's most important is that you continue to stay true to your path, to focus on your own goals, and to let your actions speak for themselves. And if you're not seeing this sign yet, don't worry. This kind of behavior can take time, and it may never happen in a noticeable way. Your progress isn't about whether they take notice or start copying your actions. It's about how much you're growing, healing, and thriving on your own. Let their potential mirroring be a side effect, not the main goal in the end. Remember that your journey is your own. The changes you're making aren't for anyone else's approval or validation. They're for you to help you grow, heal, and become stronger. Stand firm in your commitment to your own growth, and let their actions take whatever. Of course they will. And if you haven't already, used this moment to ground yourself with an affirmation. Say it with me. I stand strong. If you feel the pull to look over your shoulder, resist it and stay focused on the road ahead. You're creating a life of strength and independence, and that's where your true power lies. Write it in the comments. I stand strong. By doing so, you're affirming your dedication to a path of self-discovery, where your happiness and progress are built from within. Sign 5. Their demeanor changes in public or social settings. Another subtle yet telling sign that your no-contact strategy is working is when you notice a shift in their demeanor in public or social settings. Maybe they seem quieter than usual, more introspective, or even a bit withdrawn. This change in behavior isn't random. It can be a sign that they're feeling the impact of your absence in ways they might not want to admit. When someone is used to having you around, whether as a source of attention, comfort, or support, your absence can create an emotional void. That void may leave them feeling uncertain or even a little lost, especially in situations where they used to feel confident or secure. Social settings often amplify these feelings as they're now navigating these spaces without the reassurance or companionship that you once provided. Picture it like a ship without its anchor in the past. Your presence may have served as a steadying influence in their life, something they could rely on or feel secure around. Now that you've pulled back, they're forced to find their own balance to anchor themselves. Without your support, this lack of grounding can manifest as changes in their demeanor, like an underlying anxiety or restlessness that shows up when they're out and about. Imagine you're at a mutual friends gathering and you see them acting differently, Perhaps they're not as talkative or seem slightly detached, or maybe they're doing the opposite, going out of their way to seem overly cheerful or extroverted, almost as if they're putting on a performance. Both of these behaviors can be signs that they're feeling the impact of your absence. If they were used to having you by their side, they might struggle with the silence left behind and try to mask that discomfort, especially in settings where they know you could be watching or hearing about it. Social media can also be a revealing platform for this change in demeanor. They might start posting things that are a little out of character, perhaps sharing stories or photos that suggest they're thriving, even when it feels a bit forced. Or maybe they're quieter than usual online, not as engaged as they used to be. Either way, these shifts are signals that they're reacting to the new dynamic between you, grappling with the space you've created psychologically. This behavior stems from a mix of longing, insecurity, and the desire to appear unaffected. They might still want to seem fine without you, but deep down your absence has affected their confidence. Public settings, especially ones where they might encounter mutual friends or shared social circles, can heighten these feelings as they're now faced with the reality that you're not there. It's like walking into a room where there used to be a mirror. Suddenly they can't see themselves as they used to, and that unfamiliar reflection leaves them feeling exposed. If you hear from mutual friends that they seem a bit off or notice that they're not as comfortable in their usual social spaces, these are clear signs that no contact is affecting them more than they'd care to admit this discomfort. Their experiencing may not be intentional. It's often an unconscious reaction to a new reality. They hadn't anticipated your choice to go silent, has created a new dynamic one that challenges their previous sense of stability, however. Remember that this isn't an invitation to step back into their life. Their changed demeanor is their own journey to navigate their own process of adjusting to life without you. This time apart is important for both of you. It's a chance for you to heal and grow independently, and for them to realize what your presence added to their life. What should you do if you notice or hear about this change in their behavior? The answer is simple. Continue to stand strong. Let their reaction be a reminder of the impact you had, but don't let it pull you back into old habits or break your silence. In fact, their discomfort shows that they're beginning to feel the weight of the space you've created, and that's a necessary part of the process. You're showing them that you're not someone who lingers in the background, waiting for their attention. You're building a life where you're the center of your own happiness, and they're realizing what it feels like to no longer be at the center of yours, as challenging as it can be to remain detached. Remember that this change in their demeanor is a reflection of your strength. It's a sign that they're having to confront a reality where you're no longer readily available, no longer there to boost their confidence, or provide confidence, or provide comfort. This is how people start to realize the value of someone they may have taken for granted. When faced with the void, they begin to recognize the difference between having you in their life and living without you. If you're not yet seeing this sign, don't worry. It may take time. Not everyone responds to absence in the same way or within the same timeline. Some people take longer to feel the effects of no contact, and that's okay. The purpose of no contact isn't to force a reaction. It's to give both of you the space to grow and reflect independently. Their journey is theirs to navigate, just as yours is yours. So, if you're finding it hard to, stay steady. Remind yourself of the affirmation that brought you here. I stand strong. Each time you feel the temptation to check in or reach out, remember why you chose this path. Write it in the comments if you haven't already. I stand strong. This affirmation isn't just a statement. It's a commitment to yourself, a promise that no matter what changes or challenges arise, you're focused on building a life where you hold the power. Thank you for sticking with me through these signs, and I hope this video gave you the clarity and strength to keep standing strong in your journey. Remember, no contact isn't just about them. It's about reclaiming your own power, growth, and happiness. If you found value in this content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more insights on personal growth and relationships, and share it with anyone who might need a reminder to stay strong. And hey, if you're committed to this journey, drop a keep it up in the comments as a way to show your dedication, not just to this process, but to yourself. Keep going. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.